The role of different regions of nervous system in posture maintenance. So this can be experimentally investigated, usually in a cat, by producing transaction in the neural axis at various levels. Spinal animal. The role of spinal cord in the maintenance of posture can be studied in spinal animal. The spinal animal can be produced by transaction of the spinal cord at cervical region, and respiration is maintained by artificially by respiratory pump. The posture in the spinal animal during the stage of reflex activity. Except the basic stretch reflex and supporting reflexes which are integrated in the spinal cord, all other postural reflexes are absent. This is because all postural reflexes require integrity of upper motor neuron coming from various levels of neural axis. Though stretch reflex and supporting reactions are present, they are very weak and cannot support the weight of animal. Therefore, animal cannot stand on its legs. The muscle tone returns first in flexor muscles, therefore flexors become less hypotonic than extensor, producing paraplegia in flexion. That is, both lower limbs are in a state of flexion. Decerebrate animal. Decerebrate animal is one in whom the brainstem is transacted at intercollicular level between superior and inferior colliculi. The intercollicular section causes the total loss of communication between the cerebral cortex and brainstem. So that is why the name decerebration, that is the removal of cerebrum, is given to this operation. This is not to be confused with decortication. So this preparation can be used to study the role of brainstem in maintenance of posture. The medullary inhibiting area, having no intrinsic activity of its own, now becomes greatly but not totally non-functioning. This center, however, continue to receive some impulses from the cerebellum. The brainstem facilitatory areas having intrinsic activity of its own continue to discharge the facilitatory impulses, and now this impulse remain unopposed as the inhibitory areas are now largely silent. The vestibular nucleus normally sends facilitatory impulses to the spinal center. In the decerebrate preparation, such facilitatory impulses are exaggerated. So this is the position in decerebrate rigidity. You can see all the legs are hyperextended in both the forelimbs and hind limbs, and in human also can see there is increase in the tone in the extensor in the forelimb. Decerebrate rigidity. Decerebrate rigidity refers to the marked increase in the tone of extensors, that is anti-gravity muscles, occurring immediately after decerebration of animal. The characteristic feature of decerebrate rigidity is there will be hyperextension of all the four limbs. There is a dorsiflexion, that is hyperextension of the tail and head, and extreme hyperextension of the spine, that is opisthotonous position occurs, which produces the concave configuration of the back. The animal can be made to stand on four limbs but easily toppled by a slight push. The postural reflexes which can be elicited in the decerebrate animal are stretch reflexes, positive supporting reaction, negative supporting reaction, crossed extensor reflexes which are local reflex, tonic neck and labyrinthine reflexes. And writing reflexes are characteristically absent. Therefore, decerebrate animal can stand on its four legs, but slight displacement causes the decerebrate animal to topple over. So the conclusion is, in decerebrate rigidity, there is a great preponderance of facilitatory influence reaching the spinal center from above. The experiments have established that these facilitatory influence can cause stimulation of the gamma efferent and thus increase the tone. Viewed in another way, The decerebrate rigidity is due to the release of brainstem centers from the influence of cerebral cortex, red nuclei, and basal ganglia. Lacking this input, the medullary reticular inhibiting system becomes non-functional, full overactivity of the pontine excitatory system occurs, and rigidity develops. The decerebrate rigidity, therefore, is another example of release phenomenon. Then toning labyrinthine reflexes. This reflex is best studied in decerebrate animal. In the decerebrate animal, the pattern of rigidity in the limbs varies with the position. No writing responses are present, and the animal stays in the position in which it is put. If the animal is placed on its back, then there is a profound extension of all the four limbs. But if the animal is turned to the either side, the rigidity decreases. The rigidity is minimum when the animal lies on prone position. These changes in the rigidity are due to the action of gravity on otolith organs and are affected via the vestibulospinal tracts. This reflex rigidity is known as tonic labyrinthine reflexes. These reflexes are abolished by removal of the labyrinth. So this is the tonic labyrinthine reflex when the decerebrate animal put in a supine position. You can see the extension of all the four limbs. And the same animal, if you remove the vestibular apparatus also, so then they will be reduced in the muscle tone in the extensor group of muscles. Tonic neck reflexes. The reflexes are set up from the neck muscles. If the head of decerebrated animal is turned to the side, up or down, changes in the pattern of rigidity occurs. If the head is turned to the right limb is extended and left limb is relaxed. This is the position often assumed by a normal animal looking to one side. The flexion of the head, that is, if it is turned down, causes flexion of the forelimbs and continued extension of the hind limbs. This posture is an animal looking into the hole in the ground, and the extension of the head, that is, if it is turned up, causes flexion of the hind limbs and extension of the forelimbs, and the posture of an animal looking over an obstacle. These responses are tonic neck reflexes. They are initiated by stretch of the proprioceptors in upper part of the neck, and they can be sustained for long periods. So this is example, a decerebrate animal, when the head is flexed, head is placed in upward direction, there can be extension of the forelimbs and there can be flexion of the hind limbs. Midbrain animal. Midbrain animal is prepared by the suction of the neural axis at the superior border of the midbrain. So this preparation can be used to study the role of midbrain in maintenance of posture. Characteristic features of midbrain animal are: midbrain animal has an extensor rigidity similar to that of decerebrate animal only when the animal lies quietly on its back. The rigidity disappears when the limb is performing reflex activity. No spinal shock will be present. The writing reflexes having an integration center in the midbrain are present. These include labyrinthine writing reflex, neck writing reflex, body on head writing reflex, and body on body writing reflexes. Coming to decorticate animal, the decorticate animal is one in which only the superficial few millimeters of cerebral cortex alone is removed with the basal ganglia and brainstem remaining intact. So here only the cortex is removed with the basal ganglia and brainstem which are remaining intact. So this preparation can be used to study the role of basal ganglia in maintenance of posture. Some of the postural characteristics of decorticate animal are: there will be moderate rigidity. Moderate rigidity is present due to the loss of cortical area that inhibits spinal gamma motor neurons discharges via reticular formation. It is seen only when the animal is at rest. This is because the basal ganglia, which are intact in decorticate animal, activate the descending inhibitory reticular formation and thereby prevent hypertonia. The typical posture in the decorticate man consists of full extension of leg, arm lying across the chest with some semiflexion at elbow, slight pronation of the forearm and flexion of the wrist and fingers. The postural reflexes in decorticate man or following reflexes are like typical neck reflexes, writing reflexes can be elicited. Postural reflexes which are seriously disrupted by the decortication are hopping and placing reaction. Note that two types of postural reaction, the hopping and placing reactions, are seriously disrupted in the decortication. So this is the typical posture in the decorticate, and you can see when the head is turned to the one side, you can see the tonic neck reflex in a decorticated man. Hopping reaction. When standing animal is pushed laterally, hopping movements keep the limbs in position to support the body. This response is called as hopping reaction. And placing reaction is if one limb of the standing animal is pushed from the under it, the limb is promptly replaced on the supporting surface in position to support the body. So this response is known as placing reaction. The placing reaction are usually abolished in one side on one side by unilateral decortication. Then grasp reflex. In brain tissue in primates above the thalamus is removed, the animal is allowed to lie on a side. The limb next to the surrounding surface is extended. In such animals, the upper limbs are flexed and the hand on the other side grasps firmly on the objects brought in contact with, so which is called as grasp reflex. This whole response is probably a supporting reaction that studies the animal and aids in the pulling it upright. Okay. So these are the various postural reflexes like stretch reflexes, positive supporting, negative supporting reaction, which are integrated at the spinal cord, whereas labyrinthine reflexes, tonic labyrinthine, tonic neck reflexes, they are integrated at the medulla, whereas labyrinthine writing reflex, neck writing reflexes, body on head writing reflexes, body on body writing reflexes, they are integrated at the midbrain level. And optic writing reflexes, placing reaction and hopping reactions, they are integrated mainly at the cerebral cortex. So the decorticate animal will not have these postural reflexes.